but what kind of investments have you made so far? And what kind of role do you expect natural hydrogen to play in your portfolio?
So the company is actually progressing rapidly. They're the fastest geological hydrogen company to move from lab to field operations.
We'll be announcing in the coming weeks a second investment in new exploration technologies.
What are your predictions for the natural hydrogen industry for the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you think it might go?
That is where I want it to be and where I believe it will be. I predict that in this year, 2026.
Welcome to the Natural Hydrogen Investment Podcast, where we have myself, Anthony Muhye, chemical engineer and hydrogen enthusiast, and we have Morten Stahl, who is the founding partner of Natural Hydrogen Ventures. Hello, Morten.
Hi, Anthony. Keep going.
So we have today a very one-of-a-kind episode, but remember, first of all, before we continue with the episode, subscribe, like, share it with your peers. You can go onto our website. You can find the Natural Hydrogen Investor Report for 2026. We've updated it, new values, new companies, new everything. So take a look. It's there on our website, top right. You sign up for the form, you get the report, and you also get the bi-weekly newsletter, which is great because you get so much information every 2 weeks, plus the insights of the industry. Now, as I was saying, we have a one-of-a-kind panel today. Today, you'll see quite a few different faces, which usually there are not that many faces on the screen. But I want to introduce a special investment panel that we have today. Usually, as you know, Morten's main role, his day job, is as the founding partner of Natural Hydrogen Ventures. But we've also decided today to invite 3 other investors who are very closely following the space and who are keeping an eye and investing in natural hydrogen companies. So we have the opportunity to share the stage today with the 3 following investors who I'm going to introduce, but they will introduce themselves a bit more fully as we progress. We have Vincent, who is the founding partner at Calderion. We have Paola Brenni, who is a deep tech investor at Extantia. And last but not least, we have Erik Schäfer, who is the CEO of Green Investors AG, who I interviewed on day 2 of H-NAT, by the way. So go and take a look at that video. It's on Investor Day. Go and check it out. But I think with no further additions to this intro, we can begin with the first question, can't we, Morten?
We can definitely. And as you said, you hear me almost every week talking about investing. So I will try not to and have our 3 guests talk about why they think investing into natural hydrogen is interesting. Because by now we should know that I do find it interesting. But let's hear the others.
Yes. So fantastic. What I'm going to do, I'm going to let you introduce yourselves in a second. I'm going to start asking the questions. Please, before the first answer, feel free to introduce yourself briefly. And everybody can have an order. I don't know who wants to go first. That would be an interesting thing we can do. But eventually we'll get to individual questions. So yeah, let's go ahead with the first one. So I want to ask you first the question everybody has here who is watching this, the audience. Why did you enter the space? Why did you get into natural hydrogen investing? And what did you find interesting about it? Can we start with... Go ahead, Morten, tell me.
No, we just need to pick one. I'll be traditional this first time around, and we'll have Paola to begin to present herself and then answer the question.
Hello, everybody. I have a degree in chemical and process engineering, and I joined Extantia roughly 2 years ago. At Extantia, we back founders that are building hardware and software solutions that drive industrial decarbonization. So natural hydrogen was a great fit. And why we found this topic interesting, I think there are 3 main reasons. On one side, it's a growing market opportunity. So we produce and use roughly 100 million tons hydrogen per year. Now, based on different scenarios, we'll need up to 600 million tons per year by 2050. And nowadays, only less than 1% is actually produced cleanly. So big opportunity, unsolved production challenge. Clean production methods are still very expensive. Take green hydrogen, but not only expensive, electrolysis has also physical limits, while natural hydrogen offers a far more elegant solution, requiring few kilowatt hours per kilogram for the production, so less than a tenth of typical pathways. And then lastly, as investors, I think we also see clear exit potential and the generation of outsized returns in the space through an IPO or via strategic acquisition by oil and gas players.
Excellent. Okay, so it's pretty clear. I like the answer from Paola, because she's talking about also the exit potential, which it's something that every investor wants to hear, wants to know about before they get invested. I'm sure Morten will agree.
Totally. No.
Yeah.
But next
well,
up.
Yeah, next up, I think, Vincent, go ahead, please. Tell us why you find nitro hydrogen interesting, why you've invested, and a bit more about yourself, if you can.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Morten. Vincent Brillault, I'm founding partner at Calderion. Calderion is an industrial and technological venture fund based out of Paris and investing worldwide, but with a stronger presence, which is targeted in Europe. My background, I spent 10 years in industrial gases, essentially abroad. So I started with building plants, basically, and that's my first passion. Then for 5 years, I've been investing in climate tech venture capital, which brought me to my second and third passions, which are founders and innovation. So I like to think about myself as a pragmatic idealist, whatever this means. And the idea behind the natural hydrogen, I mean, if you step back a little bit, the energy is basically powering the entire society that we live in. The energy is the ability to transform something into something else or to give movement. We live in a society that is entirely transformed and entirely in movement. The ways that we use to extract energy from our environment, we don't have 1,000. We have about tens. And it's not every day that we discover a new energy source. Of course, I mean, we've been talking about fusion, we've been talking about geothermal, and natural hydrogen is also one of the very, very few candidates. And this is what I found absolutely exciting in this space. Now, when it comes to natural hydrogen, so at Calderion, we don't do only natural hydrogen. I think this is an important point to mention. We do sustainable hydrogen, sustainable carbon, and down the road, sustainable fuels. But when we look into sustainable hydrogen, geological hydrogen could be a very promising way, I would say, to deliver not only clean hydrogen, as Paola was mentioning, but also new energy source. And that goes one step beyond. In terms of objective for Calderion on the natural hydrogen space, we're trying to answer a very simple set of questions. The first one is, can we purposefully extract natural hydrogen from the underground? We know technically it can be done because it has been done in Mali. But the key question, can we repeat that? Can we do it on purpose? So that's the first question. The second one, if yes, then in which quantity? How big is big or how small is small? Is it large? Is it small? Where can we actually find it? Is it the same distribution as oil and gas? Probably not. This is what we believe at the moment. It's the third question we're trying to answer. Then at what cost can we actually extract it if we can, answer yes to the first three questions? And our investment thesis on natural hydrogen has been built around answering this set of questions, and we're trying to cover the entire future value chain of natural hydrogen, from new technologies of exploration to new technologies of extraction, passing by actual prospection and stimulation of underground. So this is what we find interesting and how we plan on answering this set of questions.
Fantastic answer. Thank you. And you mentioned also a thesis, which is when I was looking at handpicking, we were handpicking the guests for this panel. We did find that the three of you have something in common, which is great, which is the decarbonization. All of you mentioned this somewhere in your thesis, in your interests. So I think this is key to what we are looking at right now. Natural hydrogen is a big part of the energy transition, and also decarbonizing hydrogen in general, because we have the gray hydrogen, black hydrogen, but I know Morten doesn't like the colors. This is a recurring theme. But natural hydrogen could be that solution which decarbonizes and allows us to also add a primary energy source. So thank you, both of you. And now we have, last but not least, Erik, which I know pretty well from our exchanges before. Erik, please.
Thank you. So thanks for the invitation. My entrepreneurial journey started some 30 odd years ago in Palo Alto in Silicon Valley. where I wanted to learn how to make a company out of an idea, then make that company big and sell it again after whatever 6 to 8 years, which was the usual time frame. And I did that in so many industries, because if you're always looking for the next thing, you always look for well, as you said, Vincent, already, what is the next energy source? That is something certainly what you need to look at. And we did that since the 2010s with green investors in a couple of areas, from biomass in Sweden, from hydropower in the Alps, a small run-of-river plants, just to see how we can make energy out of renewable sources. And that brought me to hydrogen maybe 4 years ago. And this brought me then further to natural hydrogen, as in the 2000s I opened a coal mine as another one of my ventures together with Goldman Sachs in Australia, when coal was not a bad thing. So therefore I was already comfortable with drilling. So, and then when all of a sudden somebody said, here's hydrogen, and that was my new subject, and then here's drilling, I said, what is this? You can drill for hydrogen. So I jumped into it, and I realized not many people were looking into it, because all the electrolyzer hydrogen people with sun and wind, they hated drilling, because drilling was the enemy, was oil and gas, all the fossil behemoth dinosaurs. And then the oil and gas people didn't look into hydrogen, because hydrogen wanted to kill them. So it was just, people were thinking in silos. So, and for whichever reason, I was very open to it, looked into it, loved it, because green investors, as part of the family office, Direct Invest, which I founded in 1988 already, is there to make the world a better place, to do renewable energy, but not at a cost which is unreasonable, but to make money and to make the world a better place at the same time. So this is where I'm coming from, and I love natural hydrogen. I do really see, and more, the more I deep dive into it, as one of the solutions for many of our current problems, be it being the startup of the hydrogen industry, so that it's that the scale up can begin already with natural, before all this pipeline network will start in 2035, 2040. So we can get everything filled. It is at huge cost. If you say roughly $1 per kilogram, which is whatever. If I say in northern Germany, where I live, it's like 10 euros per kilogram to produce hydrogen out of sun and wind. So therefore, that's all so exciting, and that's what brought me into it. And I'm more excited every day.
Fantastic. Morten,
Good.
I think you have a question now, right?
I am, and I think we'll decide on this worked well, so it will be the way we do it. Paola, Vincent, Erik, for the questions I'm now going to ask you, and then we can move out to a more freely panel later. Because I am, of course, very interested in knowing, now that we know that you like natural hydrogen investing and see the potential, as I do, but what kind of investments have you made so far, and what kind of role do you expect natural hydrogen to play in your portfolio? Could be, how many companies do you plan to invest in? But starting with Paola, what company have you invested in already, and would you plan to invest in more? Or maybe, please.
Thanks, Morten. So yeah, we've invested in Vema Hydrogen, which is a French company led by Pierre Devin and Florian Osselin. I think we were really impressed by the exceptional team and the unique technology, which is clearly different from the more common natural hydrogen exploration companies. Just to add a bit more to that, what they're doing is they're developing a technology to stimulate natural hydrogen production reactions in the subsurface. So these are naturally occurring reactions, but by injecting water and catalysts into the underground, where specific geological formations occur, these processes can be accelerated so that hydrogen can be produced instantly. And so this is a key differentiation in Vema's approach. And this avoid several key challenges associated with exploration-led approaches, such as uncertain gas compositions, unknown flow rates, exploration risk, and logistical challenges, which all typically can drive cost up due to the need for transport and separation of the gases in the reservoir. So the company is actually progressing rapidly. They're the fastest geological hydrogen company to move from lab to field operations. They've already completed the first drilling in Canada, started field testing, and they're kicking off their Series A. So it's an exciting time to watch the company and speak to the team. But just back to the second part of the question, on what role natural hydrogen-focused companies will play in our portfolio. So we are not a natural hydrogen-focused fund. So we need to diversify. And I don't think we'll make other investments in this space out of the current fund. This is, due to portfolio diversification, but also because we have built really strong conviction in Vima. But that said, I think if another truly unique opportunity arises in natural hydrogen, I could see Extantia making another strategic bet out of another fund. The market potential is huge, as I mentioned earlier, and we see that we believe that there's space for more than one player.
Thank you very much, Paola. And I think for anyone that's new to natural hydrogen and want to deep dive more on exploration or natural hydrogen versus stimulated hydrogen, we have some good videos and content lying around somewhere here on YouTube. So please go and check it out, especially stuff with Alexis Templeton, who does some stimulated work, and I know have been progressing in Oman, because it's really interesting. And I'll get back to you later, Paola, to discuss the specific stimulated thinking. But let's move on to you, Vincent. Could you please let me know, your thinking, the investments you've made so far, investments that you'll be planning to do in natural hydrogen?
So basically for natural hydrogen, remember the questions we're trying to answer. Can we purposefully extract hydrogen from the underground? If yes, at what quantity, at what cost, and where? So the approach that we follow is very simple. We try to rebuild the future value chain, starting from new exploration technologies, with the simple assumption that if natural hydrogen was easy to find, it would have already been found. So we probably need new exploration technologies. Some can be derived from oil and gas, but not everyone. Then second, we need to actually find it on the ground. So we do need to look into prospection companies. And there are a few out there. Coloma, of course, is a famous example, but you have great examples as well in Europe, and you have other examples, obviously, in the United States, in Middle East, or in Australia. If it cannot be, found in a native form, then maybe it can be stimulated, which is basically what Vema Hydrogen is doing, and that's the third break that we're looking into. And finally, once you have found it, you need to make it cheap. If you have a great new energy source, even though it's decarbonated, if it's not competitive with fossil fuels, the probability that it takes off is probably limited. So these are the four breaks in which we are looking into at the moment. We have made a first investment in H2Site because they have, as part of their value proposition, membranes that have the ability to separate natural hydrogen from helium. From helium. And when hydrogen comes out from the underground, it comes with its pals, physical and chemical pals. And that's, CO2, nitrogen, methane, and helium. Helium is 300 to 1,000 times more expensive than hydrogen, but it's very difficult to separate. They are the two first elements on the Mendeleev classification table. And H2Site has one of the only solutions in the world with the ability to actually separate these two molecules very effectively and very cheaply. And that's very interesting because then you can even further valorize your natural hydrogen project. So that's the first investment we've been making. We'll be announcing in the coming weeks a second investment in new exploration technologies. So more to come on that very soon, but same with the approach that hydrogen, it's not natural gas. It has different physical and chemical properties. So you need to have the exploration technologies evolve. We are as well looking at a couple of potential investments in the prospection and stimulation space. And the whole target for 2026 is to make 5 investments in the natural hydrogen space. Again, as I mentioned, natural hydrogen is not 100% of Calderion. Calderion invests in sustainable hydrogen, sustainable carbon, and sustainable fuel. So geological hydrogen has it's a very interesting vertical for us, but it's not everything. So we'll do 5 investments first. Then we'll learn, we'll digest what we have done, and we'll see what we do next, basically.
Thank you very much. And to all potential investors out there, obviously what we're discussing today are private companies. So there's no accessing them on stock exchanges. But one thing that would be really interesting to look at some point is the picks and shovel place in a company like H2Site, someone that's not looking for natural hydrogen, but enabling it. And we looked into H2Site's technology some time ago, and I really do appreciate the fact that they can separate the helium and hydrogen. And so it's a good example of something that is well fitted for natural hydrogen, even if I think the company was actually developed to, normal hydrogen and such. Just a quick follow-up, Vincent. Would you be focusing only on, technologies, that enable further exploration, or would you also be investing in actual exploration, getting a license, drilling? Because you often see that VC funds won't do this. They will prefer to stick to the more, technology play.
We are an industrial and technological fund. So obviously, it's tech in service of competitive, sustainable hydrogen / hydrocarbons. That being said, developing a great technology on paper is not enough. You need to be able to prove what you have said. So financing some portion of drilling until we can get to the actual proof that we can get flow or not, by the way, is something that I view as absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it's just an idea on paper. So you need to be able to prove that what you do is actually working.
Thank you. That makes sense very much. And it's a good bridge to Erik, because Erik's investment setup, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Erik, is a bit different. You mentioned it in your presentation. It's kind of a family office structure. So not, different from the VC styles of Paola and Vincent. And I'm curious to know, besides what kind of investments you made so far and what you plan to do, also if this fact that you're a family office, maybe that means you'll be investing in a different kind of company. I am, of course, asking a bit about, I know what you've done, so please elaborate on your investments.
Thank you. No, being a family office or being a private company has its advantages, because you don't need to announce every time when you put a drill rig on a field, and then you need to post 20 photos just to keep the investor momentum from stock exchange listed company going. So therefore, that's something you can do something under the hood, so to say, and then talk about it when it's done. So that is a big advantage. But from the investment thesis, we are more rather project developers vis-a-vis Extantia and Calderion, because it's in our DNA. We develop projects. I personally do it for 30 odd years. We are a team now of 10 people based in Abu Dhabi and in Hamburg. So therefore, we're very seasoned in project developing, in de-risking, in mitigating everything, bringing project through financeability, bankability, insurability, and all of it, so that it'll be attractive one day for an institutional investor. One of the usual infrastructure suspect investors would be interested to jump in, and we may even exit when we have brought it to FID or whatever. We don't know. And the good thing about being a private situation is you always can decide of what just is the right thing to do. But the investment thesis is really more being a project developer. As you said, we talked about this. One of our portfolio companies drills for hydrogen in the Northern Emirates and in Oman. Decahydron, a portfolio company, and they have very good results. And what you said, Vincent, about the question, is there hydrogen, yes or no? It only has been done in Mali. We are very far advanced to say already, yes, we know there is hydrogen. But we have all the questions about flow rates and about the mightiness. So, and this is what we'll just do in the next stage. Drill holes and then see, do you need 1, 2, 3, or 10 holes to produce a substantial continuous flow of the hydrogen. And when I talk about this hydrogen, it is a hydrogen out of ultramafic rock, which is what the industry calls white hydrogen. Anthony said in the beginning, we're not talking about colors now, but I do a bit because this white is this not stimulated hydrogen, which is believed to be naturally in the ground, having been produced 5 billion years ago. God has put it there in a crust 20 kilometers under the earth, and it evaporated out of the magma from the kernel of the earth, and it has serpentinized these rocks, iron containing rocks. So it's just a question how much of this hydrogen that has been produced 50, 80 million years ago is still there and how much has evaporated. So this is what we do. And others go more in the stimulated side. Yes.
When you say we, Erik, do you mean your investment, Decahydron, working in this area? That
Yes.
is your first investment in the space. Have you made others investment, or do you plan to do others? Because I understand green investors do more than natural hydrogen, right? You do have a broader view.
Yeah, the broader view is a little bit when, like Vincent said it, we call it clean electrons, clean molecules, and decarbonization technologies. So the decarbonization is a strong aspect for us as well. And we are looking into more projects in other parts of the world, in part together with existing investments, and in part as well where there is independent solutions as well in other technologies, like more stimulated, orange as the industry calls it. And that is as well, certainly with other partners who are more in depth. The tech space is for us less of a focus. Obviously, we are in talks and quite interested with companies who have developed technologies to identify hydrogen under the ground, which is very important for us. Because if you can see from above the ground what is below the ground, 5 to 6 kilometers deep, that saves you a lot of drilling costs. So that is something what we are pursuing. But we will see several investments, maybe even with existing partners, and but in other parts of the world.
All right. Thank you very much, Erik. I do really appreciate, and obviously we put some thinking into this, having different approaches among the investor panel. Anthony, I know you have a good question coming up, and I think it'll be with the raise of hands, if you have any good answers to the question that Anthony is going to fire away. We'll try to see how that works.
Well, thank you, Morten. Regarding the investment, the growth, the upward tick of investments in natural hydrogen, we've seen the deals increasing in the past year, which is always a good sign. I think we can all agree on this. But I think we still need more investments coming in, especially in a more diversified manner, in more companies from more industries investing into the space. What do we need? This is, I know you probably have some great opinions. What do we need for more investments to come into natural hydrogen? And why hasn't more investment arrived already? If we can maybe guess on this.
Erik?
Well, what do we need is obviously someone has to show it's doable. It's a little bit, I always call it like in Klondike, the gold rush, 1860s, when the first party said, oh, here's gold, everybody rushed to Klondike. So the Klondike moment is not far away. One of the beach, the Colomas, the Hyteras, one of the listed companies or one of the private companies, I believe we'll see during this year. And then as in that moment, investors will come. At the moment, it's just some crazy guys who just say, hey, we just give it a go. And if we ask our engineers, our geologists, they say it's 100% certain, but then you still need to show that it's doable. So therefore, that's just the thing that needs to happen. And then a lot of education. So I love this podcast because a lot of people still haven't heard of it. When I go to conferences, not 1 out of 10, maybe 2 out of 10 people heard about natural hydrogen. But it's getting better. For instance, if we look 2024 at the H-NAT conference, there was just 3 investors running around, maybe 5. This year, there was already a second room for investors, an investment stream. So it's coming, and it'll go fast. Once there is something, then it'll be the flavor of the month, and then everybody will jump on it. And I do see natural hydrogen, it will be one of the absolutely exciting opportunities in the energy space for the years to
That's
come.
great to hear. I love the prediction. Paola, because I know you haven't spoken in a while and I would like to hear what you have to say. Well, let me remind you, what is needed to attract other investors in the space, and why haven't more already invested?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. So I think just building on what Erik said, that we have to show that it's doable. And then the logic step after that for startups is securing hydrogen offtake agreements, which helps reduce market risk and demonstrate real demand. So at the same time, this also makes it easier to attract funding, both equity and project finance. So I guess, showing that it's possible, then one can move into the next step, more related to commercialization. And then this obviously would give clarity to investors that maybe at first held back, given that, let's be honest and clear about it. It is still an early technology. There's a lot of risk related to it. So maybe investors without a deep tech focus have been hesitant in the last years because of this.
Yeah. I mean, nobody's asking me in this one, but I agree with this point, commercialization. I mean, if they don't know how they're going to make money, how did they get involved, right? Vincent, now I ask the same questions to you.
I would like to start probably by the question of why don't we see more investment so far? It's very simple. It's new. It's a new topic and it's a complicated topic. So you can compare it with the early days of quantum technologies. The use of quantum technologies for computers has been in discussion amongst physicians for 50, 60 years. But it's only very new that we see a very strong dynamic around fundraising and with one of Audacia, by the way, funds Quantonation being on lead on that. So basically it's because it's new and complicated. So then that comes to the answer to the second question. What do we need to get more investment into the space? I think we need more clarity. First, we need more clarity on what we know, what we don't know for sure, and what we're not sure we know or not. Remember, we are talking about the underground, and by definition, the underground, you don't see it. It's not like working out space. Space, you can actually see what is in space, especially when you're launching satellites. The underground, you never know exactly what is beneath you outside of, the carrot, the drilling itself, where you can actually take samples. And in addition, it's what we call from physical and chemical standpoint, a heterogeneous environment, which means that one molecule's left and one molecule's left, just sitting nearby, they don't have the exact physical and chemical composition. And that actually complexifies significantly. And on that, they don't have also the same temperature and same pressure. So for people who are not technical, that means that basically kind of like a lot of different things can happen underground. The second clarity that we need is what is needed to get to where we want to go. So purposeful extraction of natural hydrogen in quantities and at the required cost. And that probably falls back into, of course, the researchers, but also the startups. And then finally, clarity on the potential. And I think this is probably also where I see a lot of, I would say, surprising speeches. Let's make it clear. If you can get hydrogen out of the ground at less than €1 per kilogram, you're cheaper than natural gas. The question of the use is not a topic. You put it in a turbine, you generate electricity. By the way, this is what they do in Mali, although the quantities are small, but the stock seems to be large. And basically that's what you can do, exactly the same as natural hydrogen. So the question is not the use of hydrogen. We know hydrogen is a molecule that can be used to for many things. You take hydrogen, you take carbon, you have more than 80% of the living matter on Earth. So you can do anything with hydrogen. It's the key question is the cost. Simple. So if you can get it down very competitively, you can do anything with it. So this is why at Calderion we have a very strong cost-oriented focus, and we target parity. So why should we invest down the road? I mean, I come back to what I was saying earlier. You know, we have about 10 energy sources that we use to power our entire society. New energy sources, you know, maybe one every 50 years in average, maybe 30 years, I'm not sure. So anyway, it's not every day. Can you imagine if this new resource is actually large? Then we have a new resource which is, you know, kind of like evenly distributed across the world. It's local. It's fully or very largely decarbonated. It's a revolution. It's an energy revolution. That's why we want to invest, to answer the question that I was mentioning. At this stage, for us at Calderion, we are very, I would say, again, I come back to what I was saying, pragmatic idealist. So there is idealist. Basically, there is this ambition, but it's pragmatic. We have to go step by step. And our first priority is to answer the set of questions that I was mentioning at the beginning.
Thank you.
And that's really good, Vincent. And I think it's a perfect bridge to the question I've made for you. But if Erik and Paola want to follow up with a comment afterwards, it'll be great, because I totally agree with everything all of you just said. And it's so nice to hear that you share my hopes for this industry, but acknowledging the risk, of course. But many of you mentioned this. It would be great if it was proven. You know, if we could see what we produced, we have a flow rate. It's often mentioned in the industry. But Vincent, when we were on stage in Paris, Gaetan from Breakthrough Energy Ventures, kind of as just a side note, mentioned that if the fusion industry, you know, the new type of nuclear creating the sun on the Earth, if they were waiting for, you know, commercial proof, then nothing would happen, you know, because commercial proof in that industry means a lot of very expensive investment to produce more energy that you put in. So for some reason, this industry, and I'm saying this because I'm envy it, they've been good at telling investors to do this anyway, because billions of dollars have been investing into this industry. I'm guessing because of the hope it potentially could have, just as you said, Vincent, the potential natural hydrogen have. So how can we make the same happen? Why can we do something so we don't have to wait for it to be proven, but people to understand how great the potential are, so we can get just maybe 20% of the money being put into the fusion industry into natural hydrogen?
Well, actually, this is indeed a good bridge, because as I was mentioning, clarity on what is needed to get there. When you hear a lot of speeches, then everyone is talking about proving the flow, right? But once you prove the flow, it's game over. There's nothing else to be done, you know? So this is really almost like defining the starting point. But in between, there are a lot of things that you can do. So I take the parallel with fusion. Fusion starts to be technically viable when you have more or less 100 times, you know, it's order of magnitude, 100 times more energy produced than energy intake. Why? Because you have losses, because some portion of the energy is required to entertain the reaction and so on. But even if you have that, then after that, you need to be able to make fusion competitive. Remember, the point here is not to be able to produce sustainable energy. We know how to do that. It's not even to produce sustainable energy on a baseload mode. We also know how to do that. Hydroelectric, by the way, is probably the best example. The question is, can we do sustainable baseload cheaper than fossil fuels? And this is with the third point that it becomes complicated. So even if technically on the fusion, you actually prove you can get there, you still need to make it competitive. And what has triggered actually all this investment, despite all what is required to be done, and I think there's a great technological potential here for humanity, has been basically, you know, the experiment where we we have proven at reaction level that we could produce more than 1 times the energy input at the reaction level, excluding the system losses, excluding the laser losses, because laser, it was using initial fusion, and that uses lasers, and they don't have like an amazing efficiency as of today again. So, but people understood that this was a breakthrough, that it was the first step to get to the end goal. So we need to do the same for natural hydrogen. And in my view, if you think about commercial proven flow, the equivalent with fusion would probably be kind of like the 100 times energy output versus the input for fusion. And then we need to explain what are the intermediary steps to get there. And for us, I mean, at least this is what we believe. We believe that the first step that we need to be able to crack to get there is actually modelization of the underground and the subsurfaces, and not only modelization as oil and gas, but modelization of fluid. Because hydrogen, it's a dynamic molecule, and Erik was mentioning the migration pathways and so on. So for me, what is important is basically to be able to map this key intermediary breakthrough before the flow is proven, because the flow is not going to be proven, in the next months. And if it's in the 3 to 5 years, I would personally consider that it's amazing, and all the merit will go to the startups who have realized that.
All right, thank you very much. Erik and Paola, do you have anything else to add? Any ideas of how we could get some of the magic from the fusion industry so we could get some more investors? Because obviously the more money, the quicker we could also achieve the goals that Vincent just mentioned. If you don't have anything, I have questions baked exactly for each of you, so I can do these instead. All right, we'll move on, but I do think just a quick comment on Vincent's point is that I totally agree, but I do also think a lot of communication is still needed to be done so that people understand the potential reward, that how great it could be. And of course, we don't know. There's high risk, but it's true high risk, high reward. And understanding this is something I think investors into fusion understands. And I would like the same for natural hydrogen, and this is obviously why Anthony and I are, producing as much content as possible to share this knowledge with the world. But back to the questions. I'll start with you, Erik. Also at H-NAT in Paris, as you mentioned, there was a specific investor-focused conference room, which, of course, commercial break. Anthony and I were helping organizing and co-hosting. But at this event, at the end of the day, I think you mentioned that you wish that or hope that some of these early investors and companies in the space would be succeeding instead of basically leaving all the glory and the money to the usual suspect, the big oil companies, the bigger investors. Could you elaborate a bit on that thinking? Is it just morally the best way to go, or are there any other things behind it?
Well, thank you. Well, not necessarily about morale, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love when people do something and then get rewarded for it. So that is why I say, hey, this should be now something where there's a super amounts of money flowing in and getting this done. No, what I meant, and maybe repeat it a little bit here at this point, is at the moment there are so many people out there, and we run into another new company every other week, if not more often, who are going to do something in this space. And at the moment, all the big oil, and it's not only the big oil companies, it's the big investors, it's the trading houses, it's the mining companies. They're all sitting there and waiting for somebody to show it's doable. And then they just jump on it. I maybe if I say I would have the dream that in the 2020s, 1 or 5 natural hydrogen majors will evolve. Like in the 1920s, the oil and gas majors have been created. The Exxons, the Shells, the BPs, the Totals, and you name them. And I just would wish that those people who take the risk now, who say we do it, that they get as well the rewards for it, and not at some point, whatever, just one of the big players just say, oh, we'll take it all. We pay you $5 million, whatever, maybe 50. Everything is a rounding error in their balance sheet. And then they just will do it themselves. And it will come. It will come. And we're seeing already the Japanese trading houses wanting to get a stake in companies we are talking to, just like 5%, but you see clear the offtake. Again, what you said, Vincent, if you have hydrogen for $1 per kilogram, it's a total game changer. And as well, the trading houses, the Trafiguras, the Glencores, you name them, all of them are waiting. The mining giants, the large investors. So it's everybody standing. It's like people are standing at the swimming pool and they say, hey, you jump in first and tell us if the water is nice and warm. Then we jump as well. So, and I just feel that these people who jump first should then as well be, if I say rewarded, whatever it takes. I'm a mentor as well in one of my capacities, trying to mentor founders, entrepreneurs, and that is a little bit of a feeling of my heart why I would wish that. In the end, more important than anything, it's that we do it, because the world is not a good place. Next week, I'll be in Davos and see many young people who say as well, let's rescue the world, and I'll do my part to do this. But the world does not pay 5 times the amount of money for renewable energy if they can get fossil energy for whatever a fifth of the account for the amount. Like if you say pay $2 per one amount of energy and it costs $10 for green hydrogen, people won't do it. But if it's $1, then hey, that's a game changer. And the other thing is, natural hydrogen is an energy source. The rest is energy conversion. So you need to make whatever sun and wind, make electricity out of it, have an energy conversion. Natural hydrogen is a true energy source, and it can replace natural gas or the others.
Thank you very much, Erik. I do like your point, obviously, that the one taking the early risk should be rewarded, and would be great to see. Even growing a European major natural hydrogen company would be great. But I do also think that some early investors and companies will see it as a reward, selling to the bigger companies, even if it's not the full package. It'll be a lot of money for them, obviously, being offered. But it's still a small amount for the bigger energy majors. But Paola, now to you. Back into the reason why you invested into Vima, or at least I think there could be the reason. Because when we're looking at investors in the space, classical VC funds often prefer something that is quickly scalable. And I've talked to a lot of venture funds, and many of them find natural hydrogen to be really interesting. But what I could see as some of the obvious good thing with natural hydrogen, that you could leverage a lot of existing industry, can sometimes turn out to be a negative for an investment strategy that wants to take an investment in a technology that could really be scalable and support a new industry. So some of these funds ends up saying, no, natural hydrogen is not for us. So how did you make it work? How did you come across what I expect to be your classical VC mandate and find a way to invest? The fact that it's stimulated is probably a part of it, but I'm curious to hear your point.
Yeah, so as you might imagine, the work around natural hydrogen started way before the investment we made. We really wanted to understand the fundamentals of hydrogen production in the underground, and then the technologies that could support this. So we've done a lot of market research because, as we said several times today, it is a complex topic and it is a high risk field. So talking also to other startups in the space, together with the technology research, helped us get comfortable with the market. And then it also helped us define key criteria of things we wanted to see in a startup, in a company, in an opportunity that would make it interesting. And not only from a technology point of view, but as you mentioned, criteria spanning from unit economics to scalability and so on. So with all these in mind, and I mean, the easiest one is the leveraged cost of hydrogen at 1 or around the leveraged cost of gray hydrogen, because nobody's going to care if it is more expensive. So with all of this in mind, I think it was much easier for us to recognize early on, as we started speaking to Vema, that what they were doing was really interesting and was really fitting into the idea we had of a successful company in the space. So the most important criteria that Vema met was the first one. We've said it several times: competitive unit economics. So the potential to produce hydrogen at roughly $1 per kilogram. And then you said it earlier, the scalability. So yes, this is a big topic. I agree, leveraging equipment from the industry, from the oil and gas industry, should shorten timelines. And then they had already demonstrated at lab scale the process successfully. So yes, while still being early from a technology point of view, adding to this that the team is exceptional and has really relevant experience in natural hydrogen already. So we were really convinced. And then on the timelines, actually, the company really executed and progressed rapidly. We've invested at the end of 2024. They are already now, they moved already from lab to field operations and have completed the first drilling in Canada, so they can really test out the process in the real world. So yes, I agree. Scale-up timelines are often critical in these CapEx heavy and hardware heavy ventures. But yeah, for now, we're really excited to see what comes next, as the progress has been quick also under these timelines. And it's really exciting to see how the company grows and how they can prove the technology. And this also puts them in a really strong position for the Series A that is ongoing right now.
Thank you very much. So shout out to anyone that has money burning in their pockets, want to participate in probably the most advanced stimulated hydrogen producer.
Yeah, feel free to reach out anyone.
Please do. So, but thank you very much, Paola, for sharing that. And Anthony, I will leave it to you to wrap this up and ask the final question.
Yeah, absolutely. And we usually ask this question. I would like each of you to respond in a way which is more or less in bullet points would be good, so we can keep the time limited. It's basically, what are your predictions for the natural hydrogen industry for the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you think it might go? Where would you want it to go? Is a good question as well. I think we can start with Erik.
I would see the natural hydrogen industry possibly accounting for a quarter of the hydrogen production in the next, 5 to 10 years. I'm just picking the number. I have a prediction tool here. It's my crystal ball, so it's scientifically based now. No, it's I just believe it could really reach. You cannot do it everywhere. A lot of that natural hydrogen is always where there is no oil and gas. So oil and gas needs organic matter. These rocks don't have organic matter, so nothing has been drilled yet. That is the reason why no one knew about it. Oil and gas companies always never looked in these areas. So therefore, and then it's very often remote. So you have to have the industry as well there. You need to build the infrastructure. So it's not the solution one fits all. If you say $1 per kilo, people say, "Oh, don't we still need green or RFNBO hydrogen?" Yes, we do. So therefore, that's my bullet point one. That is where I want it to be and where I believe it will be. I predict that in this year, 2026, someone will say, "Hey, we've done it, and we can show it," and then this Klondike moment will click in. I do predict that as of that second, all the financiers, everybody, it will be the FOMO. fear of missing out syndrome will run into it. So all of us who are already in that space, it's good because we are there. We have done thorough research. We know where, with whom, who are the substantial players. So therefore, as well, yes, we are a private office, but as well, especially with our Abu Dhabi new office, we are as well raising larger amounts of capital to be able to invest once this Klondike moment will kick in and once we'll see the industry beginning to move. So that is what I possibly would conclude.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. And Vincent, please go ahead with your bullet points.
Okay, so in terms of predictions for the next 5 to 10 years,
Yes,
I'd like to remind all the people that I discuss with, no matter the role, is in venture more than in any other industries. Either you're saying that you don't know, either you're lying. So I will definitely not make predictions. But I do have a wish for the geological hydrogen startups. And my wish is for them to have the human and financial capital means to answer the questions. Can we purposefully extract natural hydrogen from the underground? Where? At what cost? In which purity? In which quantity? And why do I wish them to have the means, human and financial capital to do that? It's because I think if you take the problem at humanity level, it's probably a couple of billion of euros / dollars of investment to potentially uncover a new energy source, base load, sustainable, locally extracted. I mean, it would be a huge game changer. And I think, if you take it at humanity level, definitely it's worth the try.
Okay, great. And that was a particularly interesting response, but I find it very, very great how you say it's not a prediction, it's a wish. I think predictions are a bit dangerous, as you say, so I agree with that. Paola, we do want a prediction, Paola, from you. So please.
Yeah, I'll try. So I think, as Erik said, I expect over the next few years that we'll start to see the early winners emerge. May this be successful production of simulated hydrogen at a cost that is on par with gray hydrogen, or someone finding repeatedly high quality hydrogen reservoirs and also recovering that hydrogen in a cheap and efficient way. And then a second prediction, which is also a bit of a wish, as we need funding for this technology to be brought to market, moving from lab scale to larger bankable projects. I think and wish that there will be more funding flowing into the sector, and this will have to come from a broader mix of sources, early and growth stage equity, strategic investors, and then also project-based financing. So also tying this back to maybe startups, starting with the signing offtake agreements in order to de-risk this further, and then be able to attract more funding.
Great. So you've heard today from 3 of the biggest experts in the space. We have Morten as well accompanying us. And I just want to say, if you can give each of them a follow, it'd be great. I'll leave a bio. I'll leave a link to their LinkedIn in our description below, in the description of the video. Please go ahead and follow them. And please go ahead and accept people who follow you. Thank you. Remember to share this with your colleagues and with your peers. Please, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Go to our website also, nath2investing.com. You can find in the top right the form. You'll find the Natural Hydrogen Investor Report for 2026. You'll be subscribed to the newsletter, which comes out bi-weekly. And I think that's all. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. Thanks to all of you. Thank you very much for coming, for joining us here. And Morten, thank you as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
As well, thanks to you, Anthony and Morten, for doing this, because the more we all speak about it, the more we are ambassadors, the more we are missionaries, whatever we want to call us, the better it is, because in the end, it's all about the world getting a better place, and then just having our share in it is something which really makes my heart very happy.
That's great. That's a great message to end the episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.